One of the things I've been thinking about recently is a Christian conscience. I've been reading this book, Christopher Ashe's Discovering the Joy of a Christian Conscience. I'd commend it to you. Wonderful in many ways. How often do you think about your conscience? That little voice that speaks to you. Conscience can alert you to when you're doing really well, when you're walking with the Lord closely. It feels great. It's a great sense of affirmation. But conscience can also warn us when we begin veering off in directions that God doesn't want us heading toward. Maybe in how we're thinking, how we're speaking, actions we're taking, attitudes that we may be adopting. Our consciences come from a number of different sources. For us as Christians, one, of course, is the Holy Spirit. But another that gives people sensitivity to certain actions and decisions comes from the culture in which we were raised. So I have a friend, for instance, who, because of her upbringing, believes that she should never wear pants. She should wear a dress or a skirt all her life. The Bible never commands that of her, but she believes that. She has a tender conscience about that issue. And I think that reminds us that as Christians, we want to be careful that our consciences are not just tender and sensitive, but they're being informed by the clear teachings of the Bible. That's what we want our consciences to be sensitive about, so that our consciences are kind of a vessel through which the Holy Spirit speaks to us, encouraging us in the way of righteousness and warning us about the way of wickedness and dangerous ways that would lead us far from a close walk with Christ. Conscience really is a gift in that way. It's like a guardrail that keeps us walking in a straight way. It's like an invitation from the Lord to walk closer and closer with Him. But we have a lot to do with how sensitive our consciences are. When we look in Hebrews chapter 4, we discover that we can actually dull our consciences. There, the writer quotes Psalm 95, saying, "Today, if you hear His voice, hear God's voice, do not harden your hearts." It's another way of saying, do not dull your conscience. Maybe you've known someone who's done that. Someone who knew they were making a sinful choice, but they didn't care. They wanted what they wanted, and it's as if they put their fingers in their ears. And dulling our hearts to the voice of the Holy Spirit, to our conscience, is a very dangerous thing. Hebrews warns us about that. So we need to be careful. We need to surround ourselves with people and with information, whether it's from media, the books we're reading, the entertainment that we're enjoying. We need to make sure that everything we're taking in is helping our consciences be more sensitive to a close walk with Christ. We want to be careful that it's not dulling our consciences. Our consciences can be attended to very proactively. I think about something that Paul said during a kind of sermon that he gave when he was in prison. Acts chapter 24, he says this, "So I always take pains to have a clear conscience toward both God and man." He was saying there's something I can do when I wake up in the morning, when I go through my day, when I go to bed at night. I can take pains, I can work hard to ensure that my conscience is sensitive. And his desire, his goal, was to have a clean conscience, to be able to lay his head in his pillow at night, that as far as he knew, there was no unfinished business with his Lord, no unfinished business with other people. And conscience reminds us that we have an opportunity every day to begin the day, perhaps with a little prayer. Lord, help me this day to live in such a way that I have a clear conscience. And at night, we can, before we go to bed, pray, Lord, would you reveal to me anything that I need to confess to you or to someone else for a sin that I committed today. It reminds us how Psalm 139 ends. Lord, search me and know me. See if there be any wicked way in me. Lead me in the way everlasting. The pursuit of a clean conscience leads to freedom. It leads to living a life where you're not always looking over your shoulder. And so conscience is a gift. It's something to be nurtured. It's something not to be dulled. It's something to be grateful for to the Lord. And so my prayer for you today is that you're thankful for the conscience that God's given you, that the Holy Spirit speaks to you through it, and that through his speaking, your walk with him will be closer than ever.